Alright, I'm going to do a quick explanation on the combat system that I created with this character that sadly is going to have to be thrown away because it takes up too much space and it's really inefficient. But I'm going to show off how it all works and explain pretty much as I can down to the very core of how it works. And of course explain that number that you see changing on the side of the screen. Alright, so first let's look at the logic. Go ahead, reset. So at first, just the main microchip. This thing, I promise, started off really organized and it just went into a cluster heck after I just got too deep with it. Yeah, this is the where most of the combat mechanics happen. So you can see I've color coded some of the microchips to represent what button. So this is for like your square attack, triangle, circle. And each button has 3 attacks. Here you can see 3 separate microchips here that represent each attack in that string of inputs. Each one has one. Right. And then on top of that you got your aerial attacks. So aerial attacks each have one assigned to each button as well. So you can see I color coded them here. And then finally you got your special attacks in here, which I used a couple techniques to also create ultra attacks in here, but it's basically the same thing. If you notice, the concept is like 3 3 3 3. Yeah. All right, and then last but not least, this blue microchip here is just for like defensive maneuvers. It's where I put all the defensive animations and stuff. They're just chillaxing here. Also just as pretty unorganized as everything else in this microchip. Alright, so that's the battle microchip, and it's basically what allows the character to do combos, and it contains all the information for the animations and how to organize what move comes next after you push an input. Alright, there's also another half of the microchip. I'm just going to show off a little bit. So when you don't have your sword, there's also a couple of complex animations that happen here. So as you can see, he's not holding his sword right now. But if you are near an enemy or you do an attack, so say I don't have any enemies around me right now, he will grab his sword with one arm. It took me a while to figure out how to get his arm to actually hold the sword on his back without it just flapping around like the other arm. Yeah, he will, after some time, he'll take his arm off. But that's like, you know, like a preemptive, like how some games have this preemptive stance. This is basically that. And then also you have your battle stance. So if you push L2, he'll go into battle mode. And the original idea was you get access to your triangle and circle attacks when you're in battle mode. But since I rushed through this, I just decided against it. Yeah, that's battle mode. In concept, if you hold L2, you lock on, so your character will always go into this mode. And you can exit it pushing L1, and you'll put his sword away. So yeah, that's that. Those are the 2 animations, but it doesn't stop there. So based on what stance you were in last, so say you finished in battle stance, right? Watch what happens when I do a normal square attack, right? I swing my sword, he goes right back to preemptive stance. Now I'm going to do the same move in battle stance, and observe, he goes back to battle stance. So if you can see, the game keeps track of what stance you were in last. So whenever you do a move, it'll put you into preemptive, and if you were in preemptive beforehand and you do a square attack, you'll just go right back into preemptive. And like I said before, battle stance. The only place where this doesn't apply is for the triangle and circle attacks, because those were originally meant for the battle stance. So when he does a triangle attack or a circle attack, he will go to battle stance automatically. But this does apply to all the other attacks. For instance, the special attack, Cyclone. So you can see he goes to preemptive, if I'm in preemptive, and then he jumps back into battle stance. No matter what the special attack is, he will go back to the original stance that you were in, because there's a separate animation, even the ultra moves. So like that one is the one where he shoots projectiles from his sword. Notice he goes straight into preemptive, and then battle stance. So yeah, it goes that far. Even when you're doing defensive maneuvers, I'm sure if you played the Legend of Zelda games where you can roll on the ground like that, as a little quick way to get forward or a little speed. So you can see he rolls and he ends up back into battle stance. If you weren't in battle stance, you were in preemptive, he'll go straight into preemptive stance. Same goes for aerial attacks. So you get the idea, basically. He just goes back to the original stance that he was in beforehand. And that costs quite a bit on the Thermo. That easily can be removed. I just put it in there to make it more fluid for the animations. This is also true for when you're getting attacked. Well, attack works for all three. So this is considered the idle animation. So if I get knocked in the air and he falls down and gets back up, he'll get back up into idle. If he's in preemptive and he gets hit, same thing goes. He goes back into preemptive, gets hit, gets back in the battle. So yeah, it's just all these little things in here were done to make the character look a little bit more fluid. And I'll just show off that part of the microchip. Where's he at? Alright, so this is where all his movement animations are contained in. And he has separate microchips for each sort of situation. So when he's running, there's different set of animations when he's walking and when he's idle, just so it all looks fluid, because some of the animations need to look different. I'm just going to show this real quick. So like when he's walking, I don't want him to have the same stance as for when he's running, you know? So that's basically all it is. I just want it to look a little bit more fluid. Jump animation is not really important, but it's the same idea. So this is where his stances are. These green ones here are your transitions between the stances. So if you saw when he went in battle stance, he flips his sword like that. It's kind of hard to see, he's all white. But he'll flip his sword. That's basically one of the transition animations. Him putting his sword on his back is a transition animation. And these are actually really important to ensure that the character works all together. I also want to show off the trick that I use to make it to where he can hold his sword in the back. So right now I have invisible objects turned off. So when I have it turned off, you can't see anything going on. But when I turn it, when I allow you to see it, you can actually see Oshuo has 4 arms each, and they're like false arms that are linked to his upper body, so that way they will move with his upper body. So the one where he's holding the sword in his back, that's linked to his upper body, so that way his arm will be stable every time he runs. But to the player who doesn't know this, they'll never see it. They'll just assume, it'll just look naturally that Oshuo has 2 arms. Oh, and punish stance, I forgot about that. Not really a stance, it was just a way for when you do special moves. Like it's the base stance, you hold R2. Not really useful, but I just threw it in there because I like a cool pose. Alright. So that's basically animations, or explaining a little bit about the logic, but I really want to talk about the combat system. Alright, let me open it up. So if you noticed that there's a little number on the side of the screen here, right here, this is 0. That is basically the combo operator, and I'm going to explain how it works. So here, basically I showed you there's 3 moves per button, right? All of them. You can string any moves you want together. So if I push square or start a square combo, I can push triangle and then start a triangle combo. The combo does not end until you land on a finisher move within that button series. So for instance, square, if you finish off, when you do square attack 3, that's when your combo ends, right? And what I mean by that is, if you notice, these are all square moves here. You can do only 3 square moves. 1, 2, 3. The one where he spins, that's the finisher. Each button has a finisher in it. So that's the finisher for triangle. It's him doing a launch and stabbing, and then that little thrust right there is the finisher for circle. So those are the finishers I'm talking about. Your combo ends, you can't cancel into the next move if you land on a finisher. And how that happens is based on that number that I just explained to you. So for instance, I'm gonna do a square triangle combo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, he landed on the finisher. So the second he landed on the finisher, that was it. So in all, you can't push more than the same button 3 times, I guess is the easier way to explain it. But there's a little bit more of a catch to it that determines when you will land on a finisher. So this is where the number comes into play. I wanted the combat system to be a little bit more fluid, so I made it to where your moves are based on what foot your character is on. So when I swing my sword, you notice he takes a step forward with his right foot, right? So the next move will have to be a move where he takes a step forward with his left foot. So if you observe, his next move is a left foot attack, is what we'll call it. Even if I push triangle, you notice he will step forward with his left foot, or even circle. So that's how that rule applies. The only place where that rule doesn't apply is the finisher attack. So let's see. The finisher attack can be done from any foot. It's not dependent on what foot you did last. It's just the finisher because you reached the max of any combo. Twist my neck a little. So yeah, that's basically how that works there. And the way the game keeps track of what foot you were on last, you can see his feet shuffling. The way the game keeps track of it is if you notice that number, I used whether the number is odd or even to determine if he's on his right foot or his left foot. So when he swings, you notice it's an odd number. Right there, 1001, that's odd. So that's a right foot. So when he swings again, left foot is even. No matter what the move is, no matter what the number changes into, or what you put out, if it's odd, it's a right foot, even left foot. So that's how it determines what foot is on what, and what move you just finished on. It was literally that first number that determines if that number is odd or even. And the way the game keeps track of that, see if it's in here, is it will have little requirements, right? So like AND gates are a way to put in like requirements for things to happen. And it says, okay, if this was an even number, then the next move will be this. Oh, if this was an odd number, the next move will be this, right? Now, this is how the game also keeps track of what the next move should be as well. So if you notice how the number shifts differently, so it's actually a lot more simple than you think. So whenever I push square, it's a 1000, like it adds 1001 to the combo operator, right? That fourth place, the thousandth place digit, is what determines how far you are in the square combo. So if you're on 1, you have advanced 1 in the square combo. I don't know how to explain. Like you've done 1 square move, right? If you do it again, it turns to 3000. 3000 means you did 2 square moves. And then 4000, I guess. Anything above, I guess, 3 would be considered the finisher. Same for triangle. Triangle looks at the 100th place. So if I push 1 here, it determines that, okay, Oshuo finished 1 triangle attack. If I push it again, 3 represents the second in the sequence, and then finally 4 would be the finisher. So as you can see, for circle, it checks the 10th place. So that's what you're seeing there. And the way how this all works together, the number will start to look a little funkier and funkier the more moves you put into it. But in all, it's checking the place of that number to determine what move you just finished last and what move should come next. So it's like, oh. And other ways how I'm able to incorporate special attacks, if you notice a special attack, it does 9999. It just maxes out the whole thing. After a certain point, you can't do a move. The game says, okay, after 4 in that place, 4 in the thousandth place, you cannot do another square attack or any other attack. That's the finisher. Same for triangle. That's the finisher. Anything greater than 4 is the finisher. There's nothing that can happen. So the special attack just maxes everything out. There's nothing you can do after a special attack. No cancels at all. You see all the special attacks do this, right? So you're greater than 4 in all the places, in the thousandth place, the hundredth place, the 10th place, so nothing can be canceled. However, there is a way to cancel, and this is a little unique mechanic, and it's not really important. I made it to where you can cancel a special attack into a finisher move, But as you can see, it has no effect on the counter because the counter is already maxed out. And you can cancel a finisher into a special attack. So this is why the finisher move doesn't just put it at 9 and stops at 4. I'm going to show you. So you notice that the finisher is like 4, right? Why not 9? Why not the max number? Well, the reason why it's not 9 is because when you do the special attack, 9 is reserved for the special attack. And that determines, the game will check, is the thousands place less than 9 before it lets you cancel this finisher move, this move here, the finisher, into a special attack. So if you do this and you try to do a special attack, you're less than 9 in the thousands place, so therefore you can do a special attack at the end of it. Now what determines, you can always cancel a special attack into a finisher though, so it doesn't matter which special attack you do, you can always cancel it into a finisher. However, you cannot cancel a finisher into a special attack all the time, because once again, if any of the digits are greater than 4, it won't let you cancel it. So that's how that works. So any of the special attacks can be canceled like that. The finishers can only be canceled once technically. Let me see if I can time this better. Oh, there's some glitchy artifacts in there still. Yeah, here's an example right here where I'm canceling the launcher into the special attack, and you can only do this a couple times. But yeah, that's how the numbers work. And if you are a mathematician and aware of what that's called, that's basically just modulus, the way where the game can keep track of the thousands place, hundreds place, tens place. You just use modular arithmetic to keep track of that. And I could give a math lesson on how that all works, but really essentially you're just using a calculator and you're using the remainder after division to do that. Yeah, that's basically how that all works. Oh, I guess ultra attacks. It's basically the same concept as a special attack. If you notice, the ultra attacks have a very similar animation to the other attacks. So here is the smash move. The ultra version is like slightly slower. I basically just used the same animation and just added a little bit more quirks to it to make the ultra move, to avoid having to recreate the animation and take up more space. This is the only one that has new animations to it with the sword spinning. Yeah, that's basically it. Of course, you can add noises to it, but that's how the modular combat system works. I think this is, and this is what the finished project looks like. Yeah, well, that's basically it. Looks a little better, I guess. Yeah, there you go. Kind of a long video, but just wanted to explain it. Hopefully this gets your brain going, maybe help you come up with some cool stuff if you're having trouble figuring out a combo system for your character.